Hello everyone, this is Albus Talks on Dukascoin TV. I'm Dariia.
I'm Sev.
And we are talking today about compliance,
Crowdfunding,
and anti-fraud.
My name is Ilya Brovin, Chief Growth Officer at Sumsub. We are a leading KYC, compliance, and anti-fraud platform working probably close to 2,000 clients across regulated and unregulated sectors, and in particular a lot with crypto. Amongst our clients, we do have a lot of crowdfunding platforms as well that can be, they can be attracting investors, like in this case, and so we provide our service to enable them to be compliant.
Crowdfunding itself, it's a licensed activity, right? So you have to have your internal compliance officers, but at the same time, you can use technology and software so to fulfill the gaps or to speed up or the scale and to more easily. So can you really elaborate whether you have already this expertise inside, and do you think that that can be an issue for you, and you are open to as well extend to software that will provide you aggregated solution, for instance, to make that happen?
I think it goes hand in hand, and it's really important to cover both. So of course it's a licensed area of every fintech, and with an underlying of a bond. There are in certain countries certain laws we have to fulfill, and also need some compliance personnel to do this. But on the same page, we are a platform solution, a retail platform solution, and we can't do that manually, right? You need software to do it, and we need to have software in place that can do I say 95% of the biggest mass can do it automatically. And then for the other 5%, we need manual activities to make sure everything goes
compliant, right?
Yeah,
compliant, that's for sure.
And talking about use cases, so we see here it's a classical fintech use case. Do you have in mind something among your customers that blow in your mind? It wasn't what I was thinking about, and I was thinking about a strategy that I want to develop my product, just something really uncommon, that you use KYC verification or identity verification.
Yeah, look, there's a regulatory aspect where you have to be compliant with laws, but a lot of what our platform is used for is actually managing business risks and fraud risks, and in that segment we have customers that are very wide in terms of what they do. That there can be car sharing, sharing economy in general. It can be forex trading, which is a regulated activity, but it can also be dating websites. It can be classifieds, anywhere where you have fraud. And I think that's actually the biggest problem that we help solve, is that businesses like yours, they don't want to be the experts in compliance. Or they can never be the ultimate experts in anti-fraud, because we see the fraud patterns amongst 2,000 businesses happening globally. So we definitely know much better. So it's a very much an outsourceable expertise and function, which we help solve, but it has to be applied to absolutely any region, any use case, risk profile.
Are we talking more regulation for the sake of regulation, or we're really we're really a counter fraud or anti-money laundering? How it works? What is the percentage that you really catch among your clients? I
think these two things go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, okay.
So obviously the more fraudsters you stop at entry, the less fraud there's going to be. If you've heard statistics that most fraud happens after onboarding, of course, because that's what you try to do. You try to get the fraudsters out, but then some get through and then commit various illicit activities or defraud your business. And that's why we actually have built our platform in a way that it covers the whole user journey. We believe a 360 view of the customer and activity is crucial to be able to catch fraud. And I don't think you can really separate those cleanly, the compliance versus the anti-fraud, because regulation doesn't want bad actors to get through, and you need to apply both. So think of compliance as more of a tick marks, right? You need to implement those tools. That's the bare minimum. But if you do that in a very sort of legalistic, technical fashion, and you still, fraud gets through, the regulators will still be on your back. So you have to think more broadly.
I think it's a little bit of the difference of compliance is by law. You have to do it for the regulatory authorities, right? And if you're not doing it, you have a problem with them. But if you're not doing the anti-fraud stuff, then you have a problem with your business case, and then you're losing money there.
Sure,
I would like to drill down a little bit to user base. So are you considering like Web3 users for your crowdfunding platform?
Yes, definitely. So I think we're a bit at the brink between Web3 and a classical fintech solution. And we want to leverage the opportunities that Web3 brings with it. And it's also
huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like NFT,
it enables us to make this kind of investments public to a broader group of people where it wasn't available in the past, right? In the past, only a club owner was able to make trades and
community engagement, right? Like
that we're enabling with Web3. But on the other hand, the football clubs, they are doing business in fiat money. They need the money in fiat, and they need to have KYC for all their users. And because of that, we're really in both of these spaces.
Yeah, so like regarding the Web3 users, so I assume that you're considering like Web 2.5 solution, right? Where you can onboard the Web3 users, but because you're a compliant company, you are opening the bank account and you can from and ramp easily, right? So it's not a form at all. The most important thing is to engage with this Web3 users. I know, there are a couple of chains that are supporting such incentive, like Chili's, for instance. They support like builders that are focused on esport and they have this big community, and other chains that really like sport as a subject matter, because it's a huge market, and football is like, let's say, one of the most active one, because people are like, they're fans, they're like supporters, they want to see their best teams winning, right? And then for that they need money. But like, I want to go back to the user experience, right? So from the perspective of this transition from Web 2 to Web3, Ilya, what do you have experienced, and what was you guiding, as a Sumsub to your customers? For instance, like you have a new customer, so like what will be your recommendation on that?
Well, unfortunately for all of us, maybe partly fortunately for us because it creates extra business, but regulators are still very much Web 2.0. And all of the aspects about tokenizations, zero knowledge proofs, soul-bound tokens, these are great ways and technologies to verify certain things. However, in majority of use cases, they're not really compliant.
Maybe not yet there.
They're not yet theirs, but so that's why you need to see both regulation moving to acceptance of the new technologies, but as well as people that are building applications and products need to accept the fact that regulation is far behind. We're also, I think, bridging this gap by onboarding users for Web3 businesses and so on, and actually in certain cases, allowing them to be compliant, because by their nature, they're an organization that can store data. That's what Web 3.0 apps are. We can do that for them by kind of bridging that gap.
As we can see that, so the compliance and the mass adoption must go hand to hand. But what do you think, whether these regulations and the compliance will a little bit slower the mass adoption, or vice versa? I don't know.
Good question.
Really good question. Yeah, I think the interesting question is: do we need regulation, or how strict has the regulation in Web3 need to be? Right? Are there use cases where it could be useful to not have this strict regulatory setup? Right? But I think it's in the interest of the banking regulatory authorities, and it will come more and more. I think definitely it could hinder a bit mass adoption. It will raise costs for startups, right?
The biggest problem is the source of funds, guys. Like, let's be honest, right? So we have like very big crypto community that can improve their source of funds, because like, oh my God, they forgotten to buy some, to make the paper for they were mining something, or like they can't do that. So like, mass adoption.
I actually think regulation is
matters,
almost
but
the key to mass adoption, because if you think about what's happening with crypto in the US, the fact that there wasn't any proper regulatory framework meant that both businesses and consumers were operating in an environment
Gray
where they had
zone.
complete uncertainty of whether
Yeah.
they're doing is legal or not legal. In cases even like Coinbase was trying to do everything, to the best of it, they weren't able to do it. Whereas once you put the regulation in place, and yes, it's burdensome, but as I said, it's because this industry started
Yeah,
from zero
it's
and
really-
catching
it's
up
really
on tens
hard.
and tens of
Yeah.
years of regulation. Once you have proper regulation in place and it's clear where you are in the black, where you're in the white, that means that people feel more comfortable dealing with it. Institutions and organizations feel more comfortable working with it. Traditional, distribution channels, private wealth management, banks, asset managers, they all can distribute these instruments, and obviously the approval of ETFs in the US is sort of one of these examples that once you put some regulation in place, start monitoring, the market starts
Financial
increasing.
markets.
Exactly.
So financial markets gonna be regulated. So like when we're like, I was thinking about right now about you, like how will you get revert your business model so you can benefit out of Web3 market?
I think it's important that it's possible to be regulated as a Web3 company or a use case. But the question is a bit, is it reasonable that everyone has to be regulated, right? Or should it be possible that you can regulate yourself, you can be compliant with the new Web3 laws, or you can also have a use case that is a bit more, in the unregulated.
So honestly saying, the last but not the least question for me will be on the security side, right? So I believe that compliance is like one of the angles of the cybersecurity as well that helps to secure your customer from unexpected, moves of their money from somewhere to somewhere, So like, can you literally just make some color on how that empower the security of the user to interact with any, for instance, financial institutions and DeFi platforms, fintech? It's like let's take it broad, but like how do you feel security and compliance goes together?
I think it's important that the user feels that he is safe. And one aspect of it is cybersecurity, of course, and one aspect of it is also anti-fraud systems. So if the user can be sure if anything happens with his account, we will check that, or we will see that was happening, and we can stop everything at that point. Then that will be positive for his secureness or his awareness of security. Because of that, I think it's all part of it. You have to have really good IT security. Your platform has to be secure. You have to have anti-money laundering systems in place, anti-fraud systems, and of course you also have to be compliant. And with that, you can show the user that you're safe, your money is safe. And I think for a fintech platform, that's one of the most important things.
I believe scalability goes with transparency. Ilya, what do you think about it?
The word I was thinking about here was trust. And trust is, it's a result of the work of many parties. The business that implements the proper systems, the regulator that puts out laws and rules and monitors them, providers like us providing the tools for that. I think the more trust you have, the bigger and the more successful the market becomes. And that's why I think, regulation is actually our friend, even though it's difficult, but, we all should be compliant. And then I think once trust builds, then businesses can operate, grow, and people feel safe investing their money somewhere because they know, it's going to be safe. They know it's not going to be stolen. They know they're dealing with legitimate parties. And they also know that if something happens, they have somewhere to go to and find some recourse, because in a completely unregulated world, you're completely on your own. So that's unfortunately not.
From the user perspective, I just want to say thank you for building these solutions, so we can engage, so we can invest, so we can really feel comfortable with making any moves, especially in a new to many people Web3 world. So I think here we're going to wrap up. So would you like to have the last question for yourself?
One, I think that I will come up with the last question that we ask for all our guests. And I think the answer will be obvious after all what we have discussed. are you for or against KYC mass adoption in crypto?
I think it's like the weather. You have to accept no regulator anywhere will allow financial flows to be completely unchecked and unregulated, because we know about the bad stuff it leads to, but it also the way that regulators, that's the function of the government, to actually govern, put rules in place. So I think it's not a matter of for or against, it's just a matter of
it's a matter of fact. So it's inevitable for it.
Yeah, so we are a use case where we need it. We have to make sure that we know each and every one of our customers, so we need KYC in place. But I don't think it should be mandatory for each and every company. I think there are use cases where it could be useful to not have KYC in place. And I also think it should be possible to be anonymous in the Web3 space, in certain spaces of it. I think, but it's a really philosophical question.
See you next time. I hope maybe even one day for like one-on-one interview where we're gonna make some tickling, on about the most sensitive questions next time. So that was Albus Talks on Dukascoin TV, and we were discussing blockchain, compliance, and we're like user face the regulators. So see you next episode.
Bye.